world where equality is just another euphemism for mediocrity, where participation is more highly valued than achievement, where just enough to get by is the new standard of excellence. There is a small minority of people who fight back against such apathy, who struggle daily to reach new heights. These brave few are the hope for the future, the bright shining light for the next generation. They are the ones who will lead us to the places we have never dreamed of, to the undiscovered country, to reach goals only a few can even begin to imagine. Unfortunately, none of those people could be here tonight, so kick back and relax. Prepare yourself for several hours of fun, friendship, fascinating conversation, and fabulous music. All those F's, that's an alliteration and kind of a radio trick. Speaking of radio, you're listening to the most popular radio station in the history of broadcast radio, at least among stations that originate from Chris's living. It's Curious Times. Your host is a curious listener. Here she is, Chris.
All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Curious Times. It's Monday night, February 13th. It is Valentine's Eve. Anyway, and there will be no love readings here at Curious Times tomorrow. Maybe we'll do strong dislike readings. And so welcome to the show. We have Violet Aura back. It's been so long since last year, since Violet was here. And so tonight she wanted to talk about really the dis-ease that many people are experiencing and have been for really the past year, but it's been climbing, which sort of climaxed. Sorry to use that word, climaxed. Sort of climaxed late in the year last year, and is still kind of wobbling up there at the top of stress, distress, many arguments, disruptions, and everything else. And the Earth is doing it too, right? So Violet wants to talk a little bit about this and getting past the anxiety and fear and all of this kind of stuff, and how all of this is affecting two relationships, and how can we promote better understanding with each other and all of that kind of thing. So it's like going to be a real show with a real topic and everything. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? And now what else is happening? By the way, I found out just by fluke, because you all know I don't really look at Facebook as a rule, and I guess I went looking to see if I had a response from Dr. Ida Green to my private message. Well, yesterday, because I sent her link, right? And she never looked at it, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm like, this is not like Dr. Ida. So I noticed that a number of days back, she had posted on her Facebook page that she, on Sunday, which is yesterday, would have been getting on an airplane to go to a funeral of a cousin of hers who's like 90-some years old, or 99 years old. And so that's obviously why she wasn't here. And so that's good. At least it's not, I was kind of starting to worry about her. Is she okay? And that's why I went to her Facebook page to see if she had posted recently or what was going on there. So that's the update there. So tomorrow, it's the eve of destruction. I'm just kidding. It's the eve of Melissa Bruce and Corinne DeWinter's birthday. Their birthdays are both on the 15th. And so since we have Melissa Bruce, the heavy metal psychic, since we have her booked anyway, we're just going to chill and relax and maybe have a beer or something like this and celebrate that those two people got born. Crying our beer. Celebrate that those two people were born. And 39th anniversary of something, Corinne. Not the 39th anniversary of your birth. I wasn't born yesterday, But anyway, so Now, if anybody is a reader and they want to come tomorrow to give the birthday girls a real short, quick reading, that would be great. But I'm not going to let Melissa work on her birthday party, so she's not going to be giving readings. But if we can get anybody interested and get a few people interested in coming and giving Corrine and Melissa readings, that would be nice for them. And otherwise, we're just going to kick back and chill. And so that's what's going to happen then. Wednesday, we're off. Thursday, Jen Young is here, as long as she has power. Oh, I got a story to tell you. Oh, my goodness. Selva Dutton is here Friday. Saturday, it's Kimber. Sunday, we're off so far. Diana Monroe is here on a week from tonight. That's going to be assuming, too, that she's recuperating okay from her surgery and all that kind of thing. So that's it. So now there's so Violet Aura again is here. She's for those of you that don't know her, she's a psychic services advisor. She's been providing lightwork and holistic healing therapy services for over 10 years. And she's referred to as empathic, clairvoyant, clairsentient, paranormal aura reader, a paranormal aura reader. She describes her experience of the human aura as being able to see and translate messages that arrive in the form of colors and light, and her ability also allows her to translate information that flows through like-minded consciousness. She also reads the tarot and uses other divination tools as part of her work. She publishes articles about auras and the collective mind, spiritual and holistic alchemy, and other meaningful matters of the heart. She's a non-denominational ordained minister, a certified master of Usui Reiki, and a certified crystal healing therapist. She also has earned her diploma as a master herbalist. She was raised in Southern California, She had a lot of support when it was discovered that she had these abilities, and so she was encouraged to continue to develop them, which is not the usual story that we hear from people. Usually they get it beat out of them or something like that. And so she's an advocate for women's empowerment. I am woman, hear me roaring. Okay. Racial equality, and she campaigns for human rights and animal welfare. She works for with several non-profit organizations to advance awareness and support for disenfranchised groups. She now lives in Arizona with her husband and 2 cats. She lives in Arizona. She was born under the signs of the lunar fire dragon and sun sign Aquarius. She meditates daily, enjoys photography, and loves dancing and jigsaw puzzles. Our first contestant tonight. So we'd like to welcome back to the show, Violet Aura. How you doing, Violet?
Good evening, Chris. Wow, that was like quite the introduction. Thank you. It's a pleasure to return. It's been far too long.
It has. You popped in here around Christmas time, and that was nice. Nice to see you. Nice to see you then.
Yes, always want to say hi and hello to your wonderful group of listeners, and they're just, I love all of you guys just to pieces. So it's nice to be able to stop in every once in a while. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to come on and talk tonight.
No problem. Better you talking than me. And so I'm just going to go have a bath and change the truck. And I don't have a truck, but I'm how do they call that? I'm manifesting. So I have a truck, and I'm even changing the oil in it as we speak.
Oh, there you go. Visualization with that manifestation.
So what? Catch us up, and then how about let's pretend, because it's true that there's some people that don't know you and haven't heard you before. So how about just besides what was covered in the bio that I read out, but what else do you want to add about yourself?
Oh goodness, I think that you've covered pretty much everything, I think. We can be best friends.
I didn't find out what grade you got in physical education in grade 5. I don't know what your marks were. 5.
Well, you did mention during my intro that it was rare to get support or be encouraged, if you have a psychic ability. I actually was very, very lucky. I was, because both of my parents both have psychic abilities, and my mom read the tarot. She actually taught me. It was, I guess, natural. And then in the framework of where I went to school, my friends just, at a young age, people think it's cool. So I think that because I was out in the open as having these abilities when I was younger, that it was more of a thing that was cool instead of maybe being older and being crazy or seen as crazy, or maybe something's wrong with this person. So yes, I was very, very lucky in that sense. And it actually that encouragement drove me towards the work that I do now, which is amazing, and I am so grateful every day to have the connections that I make.
Awesome, that's great. So what, I like your idea of what to talk about. It's very timely. And so tell us how, what was your major reason for wanting to choose this topic tonight to talk about?
I was lucky enough to be able to get on your show the day before Valentine's Day. So love is in the air, and also there's resentment about love in the air. So we have two opposite sides and conflicting feelings about love, relationships, and there are just some conflicts going on in general with relationships, mostly revolving around the social issues, which was mentioned, but that our lack of faith and trust in each other lately, because of all of these conflicts, conflicting views, and all of that stuff, is really, it's really kind of starting to root into a crisis of faith, or just really wanting to separate ourselves from being connected to other people, withdrawing. Just that human connection is so important. It's a part of, what we thrive on. And especially now with Valentine's Day coming, I really wanted to address this issue of the crisis of faith and this withdrawal from human connection that we're experiencing, because it seems so elevated. It's really got a microscope on it right now, and it's not being addressed. So I wanted to put some stuff out there and get that addressed, while this energy of really trying to figure out and find or get centered on what love is really in that, space right now with Valentine's Day coming.
Well, I was thinking too, because we've seen over this past 6 to 8 months, even a year, friendships get ruined over these politics, and people just I know myself, although I have not deleted a single person or anything else because of their political views, but I was shocked to see what the things that some of the people that I know are saying, and how with such great hostility, and which are so polar opposite to my beliefs or whatever. And so inside of families, this has also caused, conflict, and it seems to be a pretty big, I want to say the keg, the powder keg, you know what I'm saying? It was
absolutely.
Yeah, and so why is it that we can get this way, with these social issues like this? Why can we know somebody for so long and then see them as such a different person in the middle of this political firestorm? Right.
Well, the political climate in the U.S. it's having a global rippling effect. I don't think that was anywhere near expected, but with the news media across, internationally even, so hyper-focused on these, like, social issues in particular lately. It brings all of that to light. It's been like these issues are either we've really not thought about them or they've been really sorely neglected for a long time. And these issues go hand in hand with morals and ethics and therefore our faith and, what we believe in. And so when we find out that, underneath at the core of what another person thinks, is so off-center, that's really, that's that powder keg exploding. And, you're right, this is affecting family members, spouses, employers, our sense of safety. The tragedy in Quebec is something, very, very recent. So just our sense of, like, how are we all supposed to fit together is kind of in this really strange and disoriented place for a lot of people. And one of the ways that we're kind of coping with that is to actually not cope with it, not directly deal with someone to create more conflict. We don't want that. And then at the same time, maybe we're not clear entirely ourselves on where we stand on certain things, or does it matter only in certain situations? And so there's a lot to sift through, just on an individual basis. Before
I know that for myself. Like, one of these areas, which is to say that people are, having anxiety around their own religion or belief systems because of these conflicts. And I am having no conflict, worry, or anxiety about my belief system, but what it's making me do is, like, looking at, for example, the way, and I've said this many times before, is, like that religion seems to have been the number one killer of people in our whole history. You know what I mean? Like, in the name of God, people are going to war, and I guess that what troubles me is, how un-Christian-like or un-Catholic-like or un-God-like, or however you want to put it, these highly religious people can become. And so that's what confuses me, is how do you reconcile, somebody who is claiming to be following, a path, a certain religious path, and all that embraces, and yet their words and their deeds run contrary to some of the the basic commandments or ways that we should treat people.
The hypocrisy is real. There's no doubt about that. I mean, there really isn't. The zealot type, cult type, like, thinking, that mindset is really such a driver, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But, it's well documented that, the religious, the holy wars, as they call them, have affected a lot of people. It's killed a lot of people. But it isn't necessarily that these wars are all, or these war crimes are committed by, people who belong to the Crusades. Not everybody participating in the Crusades was a Catholic, but what they were doing was they were being loyalists with the cult or zealot-like mindset to the person leading them, and not necessarily the beliefs. They get to a place where they just do what they're told. Similar to any army, that, any person in an armed service or serving in any military, when they're asked to kill somebody for the sake of their campaign, they don't even have to believe in the campaign. They just need to be doing their job, and that's what they believe. So, there's that, and that's where that, kind of Hippocratic, that hypocrisy, falls into line with the way that they're thinking. They're just following blindly based on orders that are given to them.
Yeah, it seems to me that, like, when I talked before, like, when we actually pose, like, okay, I don't really want to get political, but a really good example, I think, is, that sure, there's been lots of changes, that could be done to improve the healthcare that's been called Obamacare, but I wish they wouldn't call it the Affordable Care Act, okay? And so why not work within that as two parties and make those changes, because now you got the government saying, oh, we're going to kill it, and my first day I'm going to wipe it out, and you got people all over the place protest. They're saying don't do that. All of a sudden, though people were programmed that it was a bad thing, now all of a sudden at the moment that it looks like it's imminent that it could be taken from them, there's a lot of people all of a sudden liking it and don't take that away. Change a few things, but don't take it away. And so, I think in so many ways it's like a disinformation that's gone on. People have been all too willing to jump onto bandwagons without doing any fact checking of their own, and just jump onto what's on everyone's Facebook or what, and it's so much of it is disinformation, and so now at the moment that this thing is starting to unfold, people are in bigger numbers than anybody would have imagined, saying, hey, wait a minute, we kind of like Obama. And even a fair share of Republican people are saying, hey, we kind of like the healthcare.
Right. Well, there's a part of our human nature that responds to, winning, losing, retribution, and things like that. And, in the case of the ACA, the Affordable Care Act, and voting that away and not realizing that was what Obamacare is here. This is all, the acts of spite and righteousness and, just things of that nature, where it's like, oops. I mean, we've all heard, I think, at some point in our lives, don't be spiteful because it'll come and bite you in the end, something like that. And that's exactly what's happening here. We have people operating out of spite and self-righteousness and the need to have retribution or something like that. And it's really, turning in on itself.
And this is the same way, in some relationships even, and it's a little bit cuter or funner when you hear women or others saying, depends on who, it doesn't always have to be the woman, saying this is what I want. Now all I have to do is make him think it's his idea and then it'll be good. And that's
right.
how it goes a lot of times. If it would have been the Republicans' idea, then it would be golden. And so this is what's wrong with is that we're people, and we need to be on the side of people, not on this side or that. And let's work together to go away. What's going to help a maximum number of people? And instead of just saying no to some because they're in a different party and it was their idea and forget it, you know what I mean? And and that's what's really starting to become so crystal clear and apparent. And it really was in the last term of Obama, where the guy couldn't get nothing done, and it wasn't that there wasn't some good stuff there that should be. But
yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
Yeah, just it was exactly that thing, that need to be right, that need to have revenge or spite someone, and it's really, really disruptive. It doesn't help a thing, and so here we are.
All of their jobs is to represent the people that have elected them, and what all of this conduct, this petty, childish behavior does is hurts the people who have elected these people. Not one of them seems to be, well, I shouldn't say not one, but not many of them seem to actually be in the job interested in doing what's good for their constituents. Rather, they're more about what's good for their political career, and they're making the other side look bad, and that's ridiculous. So anyway, we can move from that, but that's adding to I think that what happens is that since that whole apple cart is upset now, in really undeniable ways. Maybe it's that all these other, like today I had some nitpicky stuff, like it's highly irritating to me, like really, really irritating to me. Maybe because the big stuff isn't going right and little stuff isn't going right, and like the little, I can't change, it's the big stuff I can't fix at all. You know what I mean? Like that world politics stuff I can't personally fix, but then like it's another little jab that this little thing happened or that little thing happened. The power company turned my power off for 2 minutes to add some little piece to the power meter, and it blew my DVR. It messed up the whole thing, and now I can't record. And I can't. The TV listings are like, it's such a small thing in the context of real world problems, but man, it pissed me off, And
well, right. I mean, all of this agitation that we're constantly being bombarded with right now is really causing people to short circuit. I mean, it's literally bipolar because we have these winds, we have these social issues, and we're at the heart of it. We want to see people's souls and see them well and see them thriving. And then we have, the whole opposite end. And, going back and forth, it really is defining bipolar behavior when we have these really high highs because we are just so grateful to see these wins happening that are so meaningful, and then have the opposite ends happen. And like I said, with your situation, and I go through this myself, trust me, you're not alone. The littlest things can just really trigger an emotional response that's negative, and there's just so much negativity out there. So tonight, hopefully we'll get back to that place where we can balance this out, like level it out and get some relief from this like intensity, and not by walking away from it if that's not what we need to do. If you need to do that, of course do that, but not necessarily just completely disconnecting from it if we can manage to stay engaged to be able to support another person. And so that's mainly.
I thought you'd be a good person to talk a little bit about that because you are a bit of an activist yourself. And so there's from time to time I've taken on topics at the show where the light workers are all, this is and they don't want to hear none of that, and it's too real, and it's negative, child abuse, sex abuse, domestic violence. They don't want to hear about that. And you can't just close your eyes to these things, And so
that's what you're supposed to be helping to heal as a light worker. Isn't it ironic? But we also need our space, too. I mean, I have to say, personally, I have seen a lot of light workers, especially in the last 10 days, go, I am done. I'm done. That's it. I can't do this anymore. It's a lot to cope with. In my position as a spiritual counselor and healer, there's been an outflow of grieving in all sorts of degrees over relationships that are troubled. And if we're not experiencing those ourselves, we know somebody who's or have crossed paths with people who are experiencing those difficulties. And they'll say it, on Facebook or some social media outlet usually. I can't believe that my best friend said, XX, or my mother or my brother or someone said that. And we leave it at that and probably say something, well, if they're, you don't need friends like that anyway. But inside, this person at home is probably actually really grieving over this relationship, like really experiencing emotional pain. And there are some genuine bonds there and probably some fond memories. So it's not always that simple. It's not always that simple to just see someone and see them expressing discontent and think that it's just on the surface discontent. So the things that we're seeing probably do go a lot deeper. So
I think the key is that we gotta, first of all, as it relates to because there's this great big global thing going on that's affecting everybody in different ways, and that and this feeling of helplessness, perhaps, of not being able to really influence any of that right now at this moment in time, is perhaps causing us to, in a relationship then, sometimes what'll happen is when one or the other of a spouse or whatever, or a parent-child or whatever, is frustrated with something they have no control over, they become controlling in that relationship, or they become lashing out and things like this. And so I think the key is to ask your own self, and we all have to be responsible for it, is to say, why did I react in that way? Is it because of that situation, or am I like taking it out on that person using this excuse because I'm upset about this bigger situation that I can't do anything about?
Right. And, to an even greater extent, after our election happened here, suicide hotlines were busy. They were really busy. AA and substance abuse centers were experiencing difficulties. There are people out there who are really struggling to keep their sobriety. Drugs, alcohol, even comfort eating, or just, eating in general, smoking, drinking, all of that stuff, the pain is really triggering self-destructive behavior that needs comfort. And, it's not, like I said, it's not just something on the surface where it's like, oh, bummer, this happened, it really sucks, it's like super bad, and I don't know what to do. It's like, it's really at a very deep emotional level that's hit for many people. They're survival centers, and not understanding how to cope, or not knowing where to get help. Thank goodness that those avenues are available. And certainly if that's, an issue for anyone, please, make a connection. But the seriousness of the pain and discomfort that's going on surrounding all of this is I think it's a lot bigger than we expected or that we know about.
And it starts to reveal itself each new day, really, the size of, because not everybody's discontent over the same reasons, but when you start to ask this group with this group with this group with this group, and now you've got like, it's actually, as bad as it is, in a way it's good, and sometimes we have to ask ourselves, did all of this happen in this way is to, cause people to start to become aware of, learning what these issues are, and really soul searching what is your opinion, not what someone else told you your opinion should be about it, so it could just well be that this is what it took to shake a few people up and maybe start to teach them, teach them about knowing what it is that they want, and then going and doing something about it, rather than sitting passively by, as has happened, for the most part since the 50s. One other theory I was working on was that, the middle class used to be quite a lot larger. And what we know about people is that all too often, as long as I'm okay, that's like same with the domestic violence stuff, like, it's none of my business. I don't want to get involved because something bad might happen to me if I get involved. And so what I've sort of thought is that all of these middle class people throughout time was all like, oh, I got my white picket fence, I got my pension and my job, and I'm not going to rock no boats. And then what happens is that the middle class shrinks and shrinks and shrinks, and now there's more people that are not in the middle class than are. And now it's time to rock some boats. And maybe in the future we'll understand that if the boat rocking happens before too many people are lost, and become have-nots, maybe that we can keep many more people from becoming have-nots. And this is the whole thing of, collective action, worrying about each other, not just ourselves. Because at the end of the day, when they take that away from them and it doesn't affect you, and they take that away from them and it doesn't affect you, and they take that away from them and you do nothing to help any of those things because it doesn't affect you and you can do without that. By the time they start to take stuff away from you that does matter to you, there's no one left to help you fight it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, we gotta, you know, sort of like realize that, my neighbor's needs and wants and losses can be my concern, and if I can help, I should, you know, and especially if it's in a political in nature, is that, you know, we can all stand up together and say, no, this is the line, no more, and do that before you have to take your pitchfork and go have a revolution.
Right.
Everything.
Right.
Now, we're going to do a song break, and then I do want to know, I think that there's at least one, I don't know if there's one or two people that are there for readings, and I'm not sure if we're going to get there. I do want to have a full, you know, we have quite a lot more to talk about here. But before we take a break, like, you used the term separation sickness, and so what is it that you mean by that? What is this?
Well, an essential link of empathy and compassion is missing, and in its place is a scarcity consciousness. And this drives fear and greed, and the end result is that people look at other human beings or other life forms and think in terms of dollars and spending limits and body parts. And, sorry, Chris. This is the most heartbreaking truth about this way of thinking, to be so disconnected from humanity, to value life as that, dollars and spending. You know, we're sentient beings. We experience emotion, and the desire for friendships and relationships and a sense of safety and being cared for. You know, people are willing to give their knowledge and their skills and their work in exchange to receive. And, you know, Dr. Martin Luther King had a quote which referred to this back in that time as poverty of spirit. And he said, when we look at modern man, we have to face the fact that modern man suffers from a kind of poverty of the spirit, which stands in glaring contrast to his scientific and technological abundance. We've learned to fly in the air like birds. We've learned to swim in the seas like fish. And yet we haven't learned to walk the earth as brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
And so this separation sickness is I mean, that's what it is. We're so disconnected at the core level of our heart and soul in exchange for, you know, the thought of, like I said, dollars and spending limits and body parts is what we become, and that's the tragedy of all this.
We all work together, we can all be winners. That's what drives me crazy. There's more than enough to go around for everybody, and nobody needs to have bazillions of dollars while somebody else works a full-time job and is in the poverty. You know, this is not anything that we need to have happening. And you know, I think that people have a fear of having nothing, and so then this maybe is what's pushing them to want everything and at the expense of anybody. And it's at the bottom of it all.
That scarcity consciousness is really such a powerful driving force. And you know, again, it's at the opposite extreme of those of us who are living in this heart-based way and believing in the power of abundance and enoughness, you know. So I guess the question is, you know, how do we get there? How do we come together? And I suppose we will talk about that when we get back from the break. Right?
Sure. How do we get there? So this is a song. It's a almost 7-minute song, and it's a song that was suggested by Violet, and it's called "Heal Me" by. Can you say her name? Niranjan Kaur.
Niranjan Kaur.
Okay, there you go. And so listen to this song, you guys. Nice song. So there you go. Quick shout out. Brenda is here, and Brittany. Hi, Brittany. The artist formerly known as Christy CJ Dan is here. Dan the Man, Marie. Hi, Marie. Medium Renee Richards is here. Hello, Renee. And Annette. I'm guessing you want a reading, Annette. I'm not sure if we're going to get to any, but we'll see. Corrine, Supernatural Radio, and our guest, of course, is Violet Laura. And so let's get back on it. Welcome back.
Hey, Chris. Very nice song. Thank you for playing that.
Thank you for suggesting it.
Yeah, that one, I go to that one a lot, especially when there's just a feeling of just unclarity. And that's something that, it's a chant, actually, that just brings us back home, so to speak, and then we find clarity in our truth, which is that we're light, we're just everything that's so wonderful, beautiful, bountiful, all of that. Just real quickly, if you don't mind, I wanted to just express some examples about anxieties and fears that people are even going through with their religion and belief system. There's a lot of religious and spiritual bullying going on. There really is. What we call here the alt-right and Christians are starting to separate themselves by calling certain types of Christians, their Jesus is Republican Jesus, or just some really crazy, alternative names to start separating from extremism. In my circles, this one really set me off. It was revolving around karma, actually, and that's already its own complicated topic, but it came up as karma is you get served what you deserve. And I'm like, no. Oh, no. This is so spiritually, just brutally insulting to innocent people who are victims of violence and assault especially, and, starving children, they're not getting served what they deserve. That's not karma. But, there are, political radicalization within Christianity, Islam, denial of the Holocaust, denial of science. We have flat earth people. I mean, there's just so much at the core of what actual truth is. And then our spiritual truth is just really in a place where it's being just bullied and attacked, and I'm very, very hopeful that we can really just disarm that and start understanding, what's going on. We have people that can't worship in their place of worship, or worship and feel like they can truly honor their higher power without being ridiculed. And that's, whatever you believe in, if you believe in it very deeply and for the purpose to exchange love, it's so damaging to not be able to share that with something, with the power or deity that's just so important. And that's a real shame. I'd like to see that change, actually.
That's the thing that makes my head explode, because all of that intolerant, it's the fundamental thing in religion and whatnot is supposedly, acceptance, tolerance, blah, blah, blah. And they're among the most intolerant people that I see. And it doesn't reconcile, it doesn't make any sense to me. And so, it's really bad. And again, it's the extremists in most religion that, that makes it bad, for everyone else. And I'm sure that there's very many right thinking, and I don't mean right versus left, but proper thinking, people who believe in, goodwill towards their fellow people, and, but the atrocities done in the name of God, I mean, even the small stuff, which isn't so small to the little people that it's being done to, if you know what I mean. It's all very cruel, and it runs counter to what it's all supposed to be about.
Mm-hmm. Well, it is. It's very hurtful, and with everything else that's going on, it's very compounding. And so the intensity of all of this stress, to go back to, your example of just having an outburst, is like that's the only way we can release some of this stuff. Is if an opportunity comes, just have a release. And I think it's important to, you've already acknowledged that that's something that happens, and to have an outlet to be able to release that in a healthier way than just having it come up for things that seem, more trivial. But it is getting out, so that it's not staying pent up.
Because, for example, I don't try to rage on anyone. So today when I had my little thing with it, and I'm explaining to these people how it's not any of your standard stupid answers, and I didn't say the word stupid or anything like that, and they were just disregarding anything that I had to say about what I thought the problem was, and so to the point where I was telling the guy, look, I called because I was having trouble. There's a whole bunch of numbers going on here that I think are important to all of this, and I can't really type them all to, so I thought I would call and give them to a live person live, so that maybe these codes would have some meaning and help troubleshoot and isolate the problem. The guy didn't want to hear, no, good. I go, no, he's like, no. So an hour later, he went and did a reset, blah, blah, blah. Hour later calls back, but doesn't sound like the same person. And the person goes, okay, do you have your remote? Press this twice. I go, that's exactly what I was trying to tell the last guy, who didn't want to hear none of it. And so then I went, we got it sorted out, and I'm like, well, see, that pisses me off, because that last guy, he goes, well, I am the one you were talking to. I go, well, I was trying to tell you. You know what I mean? And you weren't listening. We're not having anything to do with it. But I didn't throw my phone and tell them to F off, or tell them they were stupid, or, and so but you also don't want to be in a situation where you hold all of that in, right? Because each of those exploding all over somebody doesn't solve, isn't helpful. But keeping it all in can be really harmful to you as well. And so there needs to be, a healthy way, to release these things. And I say, if you're dissatisfied, if in the situation, I wasn't screaming, screeching, but I was frustrated. And so perhaps my tone of voice, was such, but, it wasn't certainly out of line with what, but if I would have said nothing, then I would just be seething with it, if you know what I mean.
Right. Well, handling it with grace. That's always a great way to go, and it is difficult sometimes. I completely understand. I am there very often lately myself.
But I guess what I'm saying is that we do have to voice these things. Voicing them isn't the bad thing. How you voice them and whatnot is, but I definitely don't recommend stuffing it all in and taking it all into yourself and poisoning your own body with it, with the toxicity of all of that. But so now,
and you do have to choose your battles too. You don't need to get nitpicky about every single thing, but certainly when you need to assert yourself, absolutely do that. You did exactly perfect, Chris. I mean, at some days I just don't even know if I can, to be honest with you.
Well, I just wanted to oh my God. When I was online with the one guy and he's like, well, and if it doesn't fix in and out, then we'll book a service call. And I wrote back and said, if I have to book a service call, I'm canceling Shaw and moving to TELUS. You know what I mean? Seriously. This is not going to be fixed by you coming to my home. And, but what I typed was, if I have to book a service call, I'll just leave Shaw and go to TELUS. That's what I said. So, but let's move on, because this next thing is, in the middle of all of this upset and, like if you pile all of it on, because there's a lot of people that have been affected by job losses and all that, and that can tend to drive you to become a bit of a hermit, and then this losing trust in people and not even knowing that people that you've known so well all your life are just like so radically saying things that just totally don't, match in any way with your way of thinking and being. So is pushing more and more people further into the rabbit hole or further into their own cave, and are we hiding from the world, or what is this?
A lot of it right now, I think, is genuinely self-preservation. The level of insanity, the number of different triggers that are just right on the other side of us pretty frequently is numerous. There's a lot. And so there is, the aspect of, have a sense of self-preservation. But total withdrawal it's unhealthy. We rely on human connection. It's the way that we're actually wired. At birth, it's the first experience we have with developing a relationship, and it communicates and reciprocates. And actually, just in terms of just scientific study, one of the worst forms of torture, which is considered inhumane, is isolation and solitary confinement. The brain can't cope with isolation. When it'll go into dysfunction, and it'll cascade. Other systems in our body will also start go into dysfunction. They'll be disrupted, and they won't function properly. So the separation sickness that we spoke of earlier, that modern societies are experiencing, is enabling, to some degree, some sort of psychological and emotional dysfunction. It shows up when we're desensitized to violence, or if we remain apathetic or indifferent, or how certain products are produced, their effects on the environment. So we have sort of a detachment from that. And so if there's anything to take away from today, it's that if you need to withdraw to get into a space of self-preservation, make sure that when you come back, or whatever you do when you re-enter, the space of your reality and it's uncomfortable, that there's some type of connection that you're making genuinely, that's a real human connection. And it doesn't have to be human to human. It can be human to animal. Go, hug a bunny. Or, just something that you can connect with nature. Another person is absolutely just perfect if you can, but that human connection is so vitally important that without it, we literally start to go into dysfunction over time.
Yeah, the funny thing is that, back before the internet, for example, and even in this past 10 years when the internet has become more accessible and there's more available and the technology's better and all this kind of stuff, somebody like myself, who for all intents and purposes, I have become a hermit, and it used to be that I hated to just be at home. Like, I would go out and go for a drive just to get out of the house, you know what I mean? And now you can't get me out of the house, and if I could find a way to, get milk delivered to me every, whatever, I probably would, leave my house 3 times a year or something like that, only under extreme reasons. And but now I'm not completely detached from people, because I do this show every night as an example, and so maybe in a psychological way, maybe this is a safer way for me to be engaging with people, but to still be engaging with people, and so maybe I'm not entirely lost. But
it's not to say that there's not I'm going to say there's not a right or wrong way to do it necessarily. I think that your program is amazing. You have connections with absolutely wonderful people, and so that is very nourishing and it's very healing. And it actually gives you an exchange that keeps you healthy. Is physical human connection important? Of course it is, but you still have, that connection with people, and not just one people, many people. And on your show and shows like this, you really get to express what's on your mind in a very real and genuine way. And so that's important, and because you're not making a physical connection with someone in the world, it doesn't make it wrong. Okay? So,
right. So what I'm getting at is possibly made it easier for me to withdraw from the real world, if you will. Not to say that none of this is real, but it's this, and it's funny how we are not on autopilot. We find our ways to try to maximize protection of ourselves, yet recognize that we do do better when we're able to be communicating with and engaging with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so the internet, in a way, has made it so that a lot of people can withdraw from society per se in a physical sense and still remain engaged with people. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. You know what I mean? And I appreciate that you say there isn't a good or bad or a right or a wrong or this or that, but
there's a healthy balance. There's a healthy balance, and you have to find what's right for you. And when you're ready to, take a step in a different direction or add to it in a different way and build on it in a different way, then that will come in time. But I don't want you to feel that because you are going about it one way and you think that another way may be better or beneficial and you're not there yet, that it's wrong. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't want you to think that at all.
It is safer, and I think that that's subconsciously probably why I'm doing it. It wasn't a conscious. Oh, I know. I don't want to go and be with other people, but I would be very lonely without being connected in some way. So I'll use the internet, and then I'll get a radio show. That's what I'll do, and I'll be, I just think subconsciously this is how things have worked out for me, and because in a way because I have that, it kind of keeps me from engaging in the real world. You know what I mean? And so I don't have a good balance here at all, but at least with the internet, there's because I'm not so sure that I wouldn't otherwise have become a complete absolute recluse for the very reason that you brought up, which is I think that you go on overload after so much happens to you that you just like. And you don't know who you can trust anymore because you got betrayed by people that you thought were really close to you. And you just start to lose any idea of what's safe out there. And when you stay in, and it's not really agoraphobia or anything like that I have, because when I go out and go shopping or this or that, I'm quite jovial with people and engaging and laughing and joking and doing all that kind of stuff. It's not that I have a fear of being around people at all. But I think that it's like a natural defense, that just happened, and it just shows me that we have this survival instinct thing that can and does kick in and can get creative about how to make it all work.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the level of convenience we have to make connections right now is absolutely amazing. And the truth is it is convenient. It's convenient to log on to just somewhere and there's a bunch of people and I can connect with them if I want to and I don't if I don't want to. And there's an amazing thing that's going on with that. But also, yeah, the getting outside and outside of the comfort zone, because that's very comfortable and convenient, is the next challenge. And quite frankly, what you're speaking of in terms of I don't know who I can trust anymore, and the world is it hurts me, is a mentality that some people have. That's a reality for a lot of people. I don't blame them at all. I mean, I hear quite often that it's so out in the real world, out in regular life, it is so high maintenance, and relationships are high maintenance. And so when we get to be on the internet and connecting this way, you're hitting a like button or a share button or something like that, we still have a sense of connection and of feeling appreciated, because we have so many likes and things like that. But there's a whole different level that we miss when we don't have the interaction. And the interaction and the dialogue, I think, is what's been missing for so long with a lot of these likes and things like that. Different for you on a radio show because you are dialoguing, but if somebody's just being fed information constantly and they're hitting a like button, or 140 characters on Twitter, that's not dialoguing. That's not exercising, our sense of self and putting it out in the world. So yeah, there's that, and and again, I just want to reiterate that where you are is where you are, and it's not necessarily bad. It's just not where you might want to be. It may not be ever where you want to be, but to not judge it as bad. And if you do, then when you're ready, you'll give yourself some challenging goals to make something different.
I mean, that you say, for me, when you say out of the place of comfort, or however you phrase that, that used to be where, that, or how did you say it? To go out, go outside of your comfort zone. That out there used to be my comfort zone. You know what I mean? And so that's what sort of became, perplexing to me is that the things that I used to love to go and do, like darts and stuff with friends, I just don't want to do no more. I have a dartboard here and I can do it for free. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And so I think you're right. And I said
I have an interesting story, and this totally wasn't planned to tell this tonight, so surprise. But regarding what you're saying right now, 2016 was a huge year for me. I had set some personal goals, mainly centered around I have no story. And Byron Katie is an author, and I haven't read her books, but I did hear a concept on a radio show about, it was kind of centered around something like, who are you without your story? And I really took that big. And one thing that my followers don't really know that much is that they don't know anything about me. They don't know anything about me except for what is now. Who am I now? And that was an exercise for me all throughout 2016, is to carry a vibration and to impart the vibration of who I am, that my past doesn't make me who I am. If I let go of it, who am I? And just operate that way. And it did some really amazing things for me, because I was able to personally get back outside again. Because even though I knew that, I don't know this person, they don't know me, that's the whole point. I can be whoever I'm going to be. And this is who I am, and they don't have to know, and are they still going to like me? And so that was a really powerful experience for me, to have just this energy and vibration of just being who I am now. And this person is going to know only this. And it's acceptable. And when somebody tells me a story about their past, or, we listen, how much does it matter, in the big picture? Sometimes, maybe often, not a lot. We only really focus on who a person is right now, how we know them when we met them. Are they still growing? We know them as they're developing or doing what they're doing now or now. So it's always, our relationships are in the now. And whatever happened in the past doesn't usually affect so much, what our relationships are going to be, because they're created on who we are right now. And, I just wanted to relate that. Now people are probably going to be curious, well, who is Violet? But, and I don't mind talking about it now, but that was my project for last year. And it had some absolutely amazing results that every time I was tempted to say, this happened to me and this is what I learned. And, going back on my experiences to impart some wisdom. And I didn't need to. And it was so powerful and empowering, and just realizing that, someone is going to like me for who I am now. And because they don't know me, I can just be whoever I want to be. It's so super, super powerful.
Yeah. I have, because I think that we are a product of all of our experiences, you know what I mean? And so in that, now, should we let that define us? Not necessarily, you know what I mean? But we are the product of all of our experiences. And it's not about, I think.
And now I'm not going to say it was about denying what has happened to us in our past. But as an exercise, if you went through this exercise where anyone the people with amnesia stories that don't know who they are, and they have to build this sense of their self, to go through an exercise of just letting that all go, so that you really truly get a sense of yourself, and not focus on how this did that to me and that's a crutch for me, and there's all sorts of stuff that's tangled up in that we may not even realize, and we can move forward from it if we just.
And I don't think of the past in the ways of the bad stories as much as that, who I was is where I can have any pride from. You know what I mean? Like, I don't have very much to be proud of right at this point in time in terms of what I'm doing in this world. Yes, I do the radio show. I don't need to have the I'm not trying to dismiss that, but in terms of, the kinds of things that I used to do, jobs and paid work, but it wasn't even that it was paid work as much as that it was such great, awesome work that allowed me to be seriously helping people in some significant ways. And that's where in the absence of family, I guess that I looked always at my job as being my relationship, you know what I mean? And so when it came to be that I wasn't working anymore, I was really I placed a lot of my value as a human being on what I was doing professionally, you know what I mean? And that's not always right, but when I'm thinking about the past, it's like that's where there's not a lot I could talk about these days that I could be, that I could be too proud of, really. And so I totally get not trying to hang on to the sad stories of the past, you know what I mean?
Right. Just being here now is so powerful and so underrated. Because we've always got, I went through this and now I'm like this, or, maybe I'm acting like this because of this. And there's just, if we separate all of that stuff out for an exercise for, I don't know, a week, 2 days, 3 days, or, I mean, I went the full year as best as I possibly could. Then there's stuff that's going to come up from that. Like it's really a creative process of, you know, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be to this person? And when they know me as that person, they're going to know me as that person. And I need to follow through with that. And that's who I am, genuinely. So, yeah, it's an interesting and creative process. And like I said, I didn't read the book, so I don't know if that's how it was supposed to go, but that's how I heard it. And it was such an empowering just phrase. You know, who would you be without your story? And I took that with me all through last year, and it was amazing. Just super, super amazing.
Yeah, that one out. Believe me, there's a lot of things that, you know, get talked about that, you know, I'll sit and think and chew on for a long time to come. You know what I mean? And contemplate. So that's interesting that you brought that up. So, anyways, okay. So now in terms of all this anxiety and fear and people who have these resentments within their relationships and groups of friends or maybe coworkers, etc. You know, how can we get past? What kind of work can we do to get past these kinds of feelings? Two really major things. I think one is an acknowledgement, and this goes both ways, on the positive and the negative, but just to be aware about the need to control. And the need to control another person's actions is rooted in fear. It suggests that the person that they want to control is inadequate. Their competence is superior to that other person that they want to be controlling over. And we see this, for example, when a child is on a sidewalk. Okay, it is a demand that kid take your hand because that fear. So we have, in the good sense, a need to control another person's actions because it's rooted in fear. And then we have the other aspect of needing to control another person's actions because, like I said, it would suggest that the person that they want control over is inadequate and that they themselves are superior to this person. And so we do that to varying degrees. Some of it is extreme. We're going through that right now with, you know, human rights, bodily autonomy, the sorts of things with our government here. But, you know, just on the more community, personal level is to be aware of when we want to exert control over what a person is doing or how they're thinking or how they're being. And if it doesn't seem like it's acceptable, you know, are we feeling that they're inadequate? Are we feeling that we're superior to them? And I'm not going to say whether it's right or wrong or good or bad, but just to be aware of it when it happens, because we all do that. We all do. Because really, you know, like I can understand how, like, take a parent or something and the father graduated from a certain Ivy League university, taking a certain degree or whatever, and he wants the kid to go do the same thing, and you know, that kind of thing like this. And so now that they think that because the kid wanted to go and be an actor, or even if they become a fairly good actor, they still are a disappointment. You know what I mean? Because they didn't do what the parent said they should do, you know, career-wise or whatever. But then there's times where people are doing things like, let's just get like kicking dogs, you know, or smashing kittens, you know, or whatever. I'm just saying to the extreme, right? And so now these are things that are absolutely unacceptable. So we can separate those two. And not feel so bad if we're judging somebody that's kicking puppy dogs, right? Right. Okay. And then when it comes to, you know, the next example, which would be what kind of medical care should you be allowed to get or receive, right, or what should be accessible to you? That is a whole different level of wanting control over another person. And to a really interesting other extent,
we don't even want responsibility for being the ones that want control over how that person lives their life. We're going to ask the government to do it for us. So that's, there are different tiers of just rooting in fear or a feeling of superiority or inadequate, seeing someone as inadequate of making their own decisions or inadequate just as a person that's inferior. But, just to fix that on the more local level, to be aware of where and how we may be doing that, and to hold people capable where it's reasonable. And that's kind of a general statement, but holding someone capable of being able to handle their own selves, whether you're going to like the result or not, is important. I mean, that is important. And so that's just one of the things to check in with. And then to also respect that not everyone is at the same place in their process of discovery. So, where your experience and my experience has us at, different places of enlightenment in different areas, some people aren't even enlightened. So we have, that issue too, where not everyone's in the same place with their process. And so that's where the inferiority or superiority complexes come from, is I'm not as smart, or I don't have as much education as this person, or I know better than you about this and what it does, so you need to listen to me, that type of stuff. Or that someone is someone's stupid for thinking a certain way. And that may be true for, according to our own opinion, but just to also just acknowledge that not everyone's in the same place. And
no.
It may or not be your place to enlighten them about it.
Well, in any successful society, you can't have cookie-cutter people that are all the same. I saw a show way back a lot of years, and they were doing a social experiment, which was to say that they set up all the conditions in such a way as though that there were an apocalypse or a terrible situation that would cut off all power, all connection to any police or medical or anything, and you had to start all over. And what they did was that they recruited people from all walks of life, recognizing that they needed to have, people who were the scientific minds, but then also the backbreaking, building a house kind of a carpenter, and then others that could cook, and others that could whatever, and all of us with and it takes all to make a community that can thrive. Everybody can't be the same, and so we should be really celebrating our differences and bringing and the unique abilities that we all bring to the table to make the whole group successful. And that's where I think that society itself is kind of failing. But if we would move to then how would we looking at the differences that we all have and moving past these superiority and inferiority complex, how can we relate with people that even when they're not doing things in the way that we approve or what, and assuming that they're still getting the thing done and just not in our way, for example, how do we move into a place of accepting that person for what they bring and who they are, and not letting that eat us alive? You know what I mean? How do we coexist? How do we
one
do
approach,
that?
One approach, and I know that my followers will know this really, really, really well, because I say this and I use this in my in my captions and blog posts and emails all the time. Love is the law. That's an approach that's a boundary. It's drawing a line in the sand that when we engage this concept, it'll disarm aggression. Love is the law. But more than that, it will open the heart to compassion. And when we operate from this very powerful space, this confined space, that love is the law, I'm only going to operate from this space. And the person across from you may or may not. You have disarmed your hostility. It can't work any other way. And if we all operated on this concept more often, more seriously, this would solve so many problems that we're having right now. That if we could just face our enemy in this space, love is the law. It's over. We have one thing. It's the answer to everything. We've always heard.
All I run into when this word love comes up, and maybe I just don't understand the word, but, I'm not ever going to love somebody that's, smashing kittens and kicking puppy dogs. You know what I mean? Never going to happen.
No, we're not talking about accepting violations, things that absolutely just violate your personal being. But in the case where you're having problems with your family members, where you don't understand what your employer's doing, like, oh my God, they're supporting this or that, or they don't believe in this or that, to center yourself in that space, that love is the law, and you will only operate from that space for as long as it takes you to disarm.
Right.
Then it will open you up. So that is one of the most powerful concepts that we can possibly work with. Through our lives we hear love is the answer, go meditate, find your bliss, things like that. But on the very logical, cerebral, active level, that's the simplest, most potent way to center releasing aggression and opening up to the possibility of peace.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. I'm with you on that. At least, not like I can't get the people that say, oh, you got to love everybody. No, I can't. And I guess that'll be another life.
I can't. I can't. And, in as much training as I have, as many hours as I've spent in meditation, I still get angry. I still feel resentment. I still, I have flown so many F-bombs in the last 2 months that I'm like, how is this even possible? Because, and not that I'm saying that because of all of this training that I should know better. I did go through that. I do go through that sometimes. But also, just from the human aspect of, I have feelings. I have very strong feelings that I don't know how I'm going to communicate with this person. Maybe I can't. But in this space where love is the law, I myself am being responsible for my own universe, and that nothing but love will reside here for right now while I'm, trying to deal with this. And it can change things drastically. It can take something that you thought was just going to go, just become a big explosion, and it can really diffuse it. It's just amazing. Now, if we're going to, how can we promote, to love each person in a sincere way and encourage understanding between each other, at the heart level? And, exactly with that concept, there's a saying that love is a verb, and love is a way of life. So very slowly, if we adopt that concept into our life, and that's, like I said, just at the very cerebral level, it kind of starts there. Understanding that love is a verb, our actions speak louder than words, that sort of thing. Then we start to express it more often, and then it becomes a way of life. And then we have some other things to add on to that. We have exercises of spreading love and activities and all of that that can really just change our entire like local environment, the space of being with our family or being with our coworkers and things like that. We know from experience, hopefully, that we know the most loving person. Maybe they're like the best person in the office. You really love when they come into the office. I love seeing them, that sort of thing, because they are just genuinely like they embody love, or that love is their way of life, or that's where we spread it. Those people should be, it would be great if they were our inspiration to be more like, to find how to make love a verb and a way of life, and have practice with that.
Right. So now let's talk about, earlier in the show we talked about how all of this unsettling stuff and everything else is affecting all kinds of relationships. And so now how, like spousal relationships, coworker relationships, family relationships, friendships. And so how can we get, people to work on strengthening those bonds? And in particular, since it's Valentine's Day, how can couples work on that and strengthen these bonds that have been a little bit weakened and shattered by all of these uncertainties that have been going on?
There's a book that I read. It is absolutely amazing. It is the one that I recommend to every client that has a love question. It's a book by Dr. Gary Chapman, and it's called The 5 Love Languages. This is one of the most impactful books that I have ever read, and it took me 90 minutes to read, and I had just revelations open up to me that changed my life. It was actually just genuinely a life-changing experience, so much that I mention him all the time when it comes to that stuff. Now, the 5 love languages are listed on his website, or you can find them on the internet, and I want to say that reading what they are is not the same as experiencing the book. Okay? So where I said it took me 90 minutes to read, and I'm not a very fast reader. I read very slowly. This book is just so valuable, and it goes over just how to engage someone in the language of love that they speak. What makes a person feel fulfilled? What are those actions that are so nourishing to them that they will speak to you in your love language, like they'll speak it back, just kind of naturally is how that happens. I've written a couple of articles about that on my blog, actually, too, many, many years ago. But I certainly, absolutely, for couples, recommend that book. Let's see. There's also a series from him that's conversation starters for couples and families. But one thing that's really an awesome thing that I think to do is to do charitable work together, because that work constantly reveals and reinforces the nature of your partner's soul. And that's always what we kind of lose when we're frustrated or angry or when things are strained. And we forget that, this person that I'm arguing with right now is such a beautiful soul. And I see it so often that becomes the leverage that will disarm that aggression. So charitable work together, or something that reveals the nature of the person's soul repetitively, or to visit that repetitively.
And that's my biggest. Because people always say, look at, some people that they only see the good in people, and there's some people that I couldn't be bothered to waste my time looking for something. If I have to look that hard for something good in them, then you know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be a hard task to. And if it's that hard, they're not anybody that I really want to be spending time around or with, And
well, right, and that's the thing, because when it gets hard, you don't want to have to look really hard. You don't want to have to put so much effort. It should be effortless to see that this person that you're spending your time and engaging your emotions with, at this very moment, even though they're not negative, that the person inside, and you know it well, is a good soul. And you have examples. All of it comes up because you did it together.
Yeah. Makes all the sense in the world to me. And so now that we're on the eve of Valentine's Day, what kind of advice do you have for single people wanting to know when Mr. Right or Mrs. Right are going to show up?
Well, we have the same, Dr. Gary Chapman is actually like a book series. So he has the 5 love languages for teens, for singles, for men, for the workplace, if that's a thing, in case that book is not available and you're single and just curious or whatever. There's different versions. But mainly just to put the energy out there. A lot of times when I have clients ask me, am I going to meet someone this year? That's a really big question. And it's a valid question. There are people who are genuinely want to have the love of their life finally come in to their life. But they're not putting any energy out there. It's in such a way where, I know I'm a good person. I'm a positive person. And I love everybody, and they genuinely think all of the wonderful things about themselves, which is beautiful. That's exactly where you want to be. But you don't want to keep that energy to yourself. It has to get out into the world. It has to radiate out there. It's bigger than, a lot of times, bigger than just, navigating out in a grocery store by yourself or, something like that. So the next step, for example, would be to write your wish list for what you want from a longtime partner on a very serious level. Like, what do you want out of the person that you want to spend your life with? You write all those things down. And then become those things. Work towards becoming those things. And don't backpedal to say you want less, because it's going to be too hard for you to step up. In all fairness to the partner that you want to have in your life, be that person. And don't settle for less because you don't want to step up. That's not fair. And so if you're going to ask for, tall, dark, handsome, makes good money, be in good shape and emotionally available and single, then, be prepared to be tall, tanned, and gorgeous and make good money and be in good shape and emotionally stable. So reciprocate what you want, but you have to make that list. We're not even clear a lot of times. And then the key to long relationship is somewhat related to, sharing the same views on your core ethics or morals or values or something like that. If I want to say, if you're a vegan or vegetarian, ask for a vegetarian mate because that's actually a moral stance that some people take that really starts affecting relationships. I mean, people break up because of it. It's a real thing. So when you're looking for someone to spend your life with, be prepared to, work through that, or be very specific that that's what you're, looking for, so that you're not making that investment. But mainly, making that list is such a huge thing. Being clear on this person that you want to show up in your life.
Well, and I always say to callers is, what are you bringing to the table too? Because you can't have unrealistic expectations. You're sitting in your sweats and you haven't, brushed your hair in 3 weeks, and you got a cigarette ashtray overflowing onto your floor, and you want some millionaire businessman, that's going to be your doctor, your lawyer, or somebody that's going to marry you. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You got.
I wrote an article a long time ago, Chris, and it was published on tarot.com. And in that article, it was different things to do about actually making space for the relationship that you want. Even if you've got your list and you're feeling great and you're just vibing like totally just amazing, there's no space for the relationship. There's no space in the work schedule. There's not, the house is a mess. I can't have this person over. And, all of those little things that aren't ready for a relationship to develop on solid, firm ground where you can actually focus on each other, but you're focusing on, how many hours you're working or you're so tired, or, all of those sorts of things. So also make sure that, with all of that you're making space for that. And that goes pretty much with anything. If you want to, make more money, make space to receive it, that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly right. So do you want to, now, if there's anybody that's on right now on the phone line, like Corrine or Brittany, if either of you guys have questions or comments you'd like to make, now would be a good time to unmute yourself and go ahead and feel free to do that. I suspected that maybe Corrine might have wanted to chime in on because Corrine's motto is, love is the only way and blah, 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 and all that kind of thing. And so I don't know if you want to say anything, Corrine, about that. But failing that, how would you like to summarize? What would you like to leave people with? Hang on. Corrine is here. Corrine? Corrine? Hang on, like she's there. I heard her say my name. She might. Can you call in on Skype, Corrine?
Chris, can you hear me?
Yeah, but you're broken up and you might be on delay.
Yes, I can hear you, but it's very...
Try to call in using Skype.
So I tried to call in, but that's not working either. So I just... Yeah, I tried a bunch of times, but I can't, for some reason, get in. I don't know why. My connection must be really bad. But I'm going to write in the chat room, okay? For Violet?
Okay.
Yes.
Can you see the chat room?
I am not able to see the chat room. I go ahead and give it to me, Chris.
Get it. Question. Waiting for her to type dead air, dead air, dead air, dead air, dead air. So, okay,
well, for a moment,
go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, some fun ways to promote a sense of love and kindness and in a way that makes people feel good is, especially because Valentine's Day is coming, and it doesn't have to be about romantic love. It can be just about, just sharing good feelings with someone that's in your proximity. So, the pay it forward concept. Recently, we went through a thing here where there's a boycott of Starbucks here, and so I mentioned, that you get a gift card, and this doesn't have to be related to Starbucks, but you can get a gift card and, put $20, $30 on it or something, and just hand it to the cashier and ask them to use it until, on the next customers until it runs out. And so everybody in line behind has their coffee paid for, and they'll probably at some point or another also do that for the next person down from them somewhere that they go. So that's like kind of a random act of kindness, pay it forward sort of thing. So that's kind of fun.
Yep.
Do we have her question yet?
Do we or should we say goodbye to some people who are just too abrasive with the situation on the government? So regarding politics, should we just carve them out of our life, or?
If the damage is permanent, I'd say that's the place that you kind of have to weigh things out. Is this damage permanent? Am I going to hold on to this realistically? I mean, just in the human way, we cannot we don't and we can't resolve or forgive everything for everybody. And so if you feel that the damage is permanent, it can't be repaired, or you don't want to put the effort in right now to try to salvage what's going on, then, it's best for your heart's content to let it go. That's my opinion. And maybe down the road, when the intensity is so much more diffused, when we're a little bit more enlightened about how to truly, fix certain things or work together in a different way, or someone's gained a different perspective. We won't know that until, much further down the road. But in my opinion, I do think that if it's something that's, causing so much grief that it's permanently damaging, or at least semi-permanently damaging, let it go.
Yeah, I agree. I concur. Okay, well, we're wrapping up here. Tell people where they can find you.
You can find me at www.violetaura.com. On Twitter /VioletAura, Instagram /VioletAuraPhoto. A lot of that information you'll be able to just find on my website. But actually, if anybody has any stories about what you're experiencing as a result of this, global shockwave of energy that's going on, feel free to email me. Share your story. I may use it as something that I may post about on my blog or speak about to use as an example of something that's going on. And really, it's also healing to just write about it. All things are confidential. So if you want to write or share something that you've written already that's up on a blog, I'm more than happy to, take a look at it and offer my encouragement where I can. Aside from that, Chris, happy Valentine's Day, everybody. I know that there's, mixed feelings about Valentine's Day in general, but I do hope that, our openness to love and accepting and being accepting will come to a different place after tonight. Have a different awareness about how to approach love and boundaries and perspective, because I think that that's really needed right now, instead of, always just operating from emotional reaction to so much. And it's genuinely, valid to do so. I mean, we're right there on the edge of everything, but, love much. That's all I can say. And thanks so much, for having me again. I always appreciate coming on.
Good topic. It was a good discussion and timely as well. So thanks so much, and let's not let it be so long next time.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks so much, Chris, and thanks everybody. I always love your listeners, Chris. So thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful, wonderful Valentine's Day, everyone.
You too. Thank you, Violet. So I'm just going to toss a song on you guys. Thank you. Oops. There we go. Right. Another one. Till you guys leave, I guess.
I need your voice.
I can hear you. See, it worked.
Okay. No, I like that. So it finally worked. My computer's all effed up today. But so that was a really good interview. I thought, she covered a lot of good stuff about what we can do to deter the anger and everything. But, I mean, what did you think, Chris?
No, I enjoyed it. It was good. Timely as well.
Mm-hmm. So did you take anything from her advice about how to deal with people that are, just opposing the other, I don't even know how to put it, man. I'm trying to be politically correct here.
That's another, that's one of those things where we each have our own line to cross. You know what I mean? And so some might be more tolerant than others about such a thing, whereas I might have you could take a Trump lover, and there could be they could like Trump because of this, and this, and I can accept that. But if they like Trump because of that, and that, I cannot accept that. You know what I mean? They cannot be in my life, those people. I can't, it wouldn't be healthy for either of us, to try to coexist with that, such a radical. Now, there's people who can, they just don't bring it up, you know what I mean? And put a finger in your eye, so to speak, you know what I mean? On stuff that they know grates on your nerve. And so, there's many people out there that I know of here, like in Alberta. As I said, I've grown up in this extremely right-wing province for my whole life. And there's been a lot of times where you'll see some couple, and they've got a sign for each party on their front lawn. You know what I mean? So there's couples out there that have been able to have a good relationship while remaining politically opposed, and they find ways to make it work. And and I'm not saying I would never be able to do that myself. It's about respect, but it's also about where are your personal boundaries? You know what I mean? If for me, this guy admitted that he's a sex offender. He's admitted that he sexually sexually assaulted women, and gotten away with it because he was rich. That I cannot accept. And it all stops there.
Me neither.
Build your wall, do all this other stuff I disagree with, but you, out of your own mouth, bragged about how you could grab women's private parts anytime you wanted without invitation and get away with it because you're rich. I cannot accept that.
I can't either. I can't either. And so, and I know that you understand my anger. Anger might not be a good word for it, but I do. I feel like I'm angry about it. I'm angry because he's taking away things from people that need, money in a certain situation, or, he's not aware of those who are lesser off. He's just not aware of it. And I can say, oh, I forgive that because he doesn't know any better. He's our goddamn president. He should know better. And it's so should the people that voted for him and that are still sticking up for him should know better than that. And, I don't know quite how to come to terms with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, a lot of the ones I really can't tolerate are the ones that are all liking him for the really extreme bad reasons. You know what I mean? Because that tells me a lot about who those people are, Mm-hmm. And those just aren't people I can get along with, right? Mm-hmm. If you really believe in your heart that he's going to fix all of your money problems and for all of those reasons that's who you went with, then that I can tolerate. You know what I mean? But if you're going to cheer him because he sent a woman home to Mexico who lived her whole life here, separating her from her children and her husband, I'm not going to cheer that. Not going to cheer that. And
right. Well, see,
so
Brittany just said, for instance, right, exactly. You can't cheer that. You shouldn't be cheering that.
Yeah.
So Brittany said, and this is the case with a lot of people, I think, Chris, is that she says her dad voted for him, and recently he has started to admit he doesn't agree with everything he is doing anymore. And I think that was the case for a lot of people that voted for Trump. I understand why they did, but they didn't understand what they were getting into either, okay?
Yeah.
And, so now that all the cards are on the table, if you haven't seen what he's doing to really undermine the frickin' lesser off, then you're fucking ignorant. I'm sorry, I swore. You're ignorant, okay? So if you don't get that, what the hell good are you? You know what I mean?
Right. So, again, and so that's why there can never be a cut and dry answer to some of these questions for me, remember when I did the old, what kind of animal would you be and why? And then at the end of that whole exercise, it was to say that it's not what animal you choose. So if you choose a lion because they're majestic and blah, blah, and they have beautiful hair, you know what I mean? That's different than choosing a lion because they're the king of the jungle and they can kill anything. And then that's different, So it tells me a lot about you. And so that's kind of like if you like Trump because of this, and this, like he's got some good ideas. I'm not going to say he doesn't. But what happens with me is that he's being a hypocrite too. I mean, my problem is he beat down on Hillary for being the Wall Street person. The first thing he's doing is hiring and talking about her connection with Goldman Sachs. He hired every person on his thing. They're all Goldman Sachs ex-people or current, you know what I mean? Like high-profile positions in Goldman Sachs. And here he wants to give all the money away to the all the money away to the big, huge, rich corporations and stuff like this. And so, and if he could just tell the truth, that would be great. I'd be like, we're never going to like any president for everything that they do. They have a tough job, but I can't accept like so much of the crap. And he got in on a bunch of lies, and now it's starting to maybe be true that, well, I remember when he said from the campaign podium, oh, well, hey, Russia, if you're listening, hack in and get some more you know what I mean? Hack in and go find those emails. It's like he's encouraging Russians to go. So now they come to say that there's possibility that there was already pre-existing communication between the Russian some Russian representatives and some Trump campaign representatives while the campaign was going on, which would be absolutely, well, and I mean, it's not that I wasn't suspicious anyway. The guy keeps on talking about how great Vladimir Putin is. Are you kidding me? This guy is a murderer, and there's nothing great at all about him that I have found. And so that Trump falls short of condemning anything that Russia did, and would talk about what a great leader Putin was, and like this is disturbing stuff to me.
It is. Yeah. So your prime minister met with him today, and what happened with that meeting exactly? I don't know anything.
Well, I think our guy,
what happened?
I don't know, somebody asked him a question and he gave a good answer, which was to say that our Canadian people don't think that don't want to see me come over here and tell it, or don't want to see me tell any other country how to run their country. You know what I mean? And so, like, he's conducting himself in a way that I think is honorable. Justin Trudeau, and he's being diplomatic, but we aren't, we aren't all that happy, with the situation. And
I know. No one is. Chris, I have friends in Brazil that aren't happy about this. Yeah. I have friends in Japan that aren't happy about it. No one is happy about this.
Well, we have to say there's
So, I mean, I just, that's why this conversation.
When you ask people that are Trump supporters some very key questions about facts and issues, like they are so far wrong, it's ridiculous. And the fact that you could ask his people, would you want to see President Trump violate court order? Yes, they would. Well, that just right there is ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Right.
They ran on the platform.
So can you answer the question? I'm sorry, go ahead.
You're on a delay again is the problem. That's the only problem is you're on a delay. But they ran on a platform of law and order. But I guess it's only law and order as long as it's laws and orders that they want, not the laws and orders that the law report of the land says.
Right. So can you answer the question that I was asking Violet that we didn't get answered by her? Is that how, I mean, is it okay to say, I don't agree with you and I find what you're doing very offensive, even though it's a friend of yours?
Yes. Look, it's not, and that doesn't mean I'm right on relationships, but I have said over and over since the beginning, I've never wavered on this one single bit. If your boundaries are being crossed, you know what I mean? Or there's anything abusive going on, I don't care who they are to you. You don't have any responsibility, obligation to keep those people in your life. And so, if there's opinions about anything, including politics, that are so absolutely opposed to each other, that are interfering with an enjoyable afternoon of tea, and reducing to some kind of hand-to-hand combat, it's probably good that you don't have that person as a friend anymore. Or you establish strong boundaries that both people respect, which is to say, we aren't going to talk about religion or we aren't going to talk about politics. And then we will honor those boundaries. In that situation, fine. Like if somebody tells me they don't care that Donald Trump molested women, that bothers me and I don't think I could be friends with them.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just can't settle down about this. I can't. And it's like, oh my God.
Things will come out in the wash. You know what I mean? And it has to be in the timing that there is. But all I can say to anybody that is as strongly positioned as you are, Corrine, in this is that you have some hard work to do between now and the next time that you guys have elections in 2 years. And you have to get Democrats in. There has to be a check in place. You know what I mean? There has to be a check and balance in place.
Yeah.
Like, even so many Republican people are so, like you saw the protests, Republican people who voted for the Republican guys are like getting into their offices, booing them at the airports and saying, do your damn job. And they can't understand and do not agree in any way, shape, or the backflips and everything else that they did to get that woman confirmed for the education Secretary of Education.
No shit.
Right?
No shit.
So they're not doing their job.
That's another. Yeah. They're not.
And I think here's what I think. I think that the Republicans, senators, I guess, are the ones that are voting through all these nominees of Trump's. They're doing this not because they agree with them or they think they're going to do a good job. It's payola. In other words, they're going to do that because there's stuff that people have wanted to get passed in legislation that they are going to demand Trump's compliance with, and stuff that he might not be in agreement with. You know what I mean? And so it's this little trade-off bullshit. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, it stinks. It stinks because you're installing people into very high, important positions who are ill-equipped and unqualified in every way. morally, educationally, experientially, wholly inappropriate for these positions that they're being given. You know, and all in trade for something later on. You know, and to me that's just wrong. That's not the way.
Well, you know,
they're representing each other instead of representing the people that elected them. That's what's happening. They're representing each other and
exactly. Exactly. Now, Betsy DeVos, she donated, what, $2 million, or I don't know how much money she donated to the Trump campaign, but that's exactly why she is where she is right now. She can't even spell or talk properly. I mean, seriously, what is going on here?
Right off the bat, the woman who's the Secretary of Education plagiarized her effing answers to the questions she would be getting asked. She's a plagiarist, and what is it in the education system that we were trying to teach children? Don't copy off someone else's paper and hand it in as your own, right? So on that one fundamental, even if she was qualified up to yin-yang with public education and every other thing was a check mark, that one thing right there disqualifies her. And I'll tell you what, any Democrat would be disqualified on much less than the mountain of things that all of these guys should have been disqualified on. And it's just wrong. Wrong. Really just wrong. So
yes, it is just exactly.
Anyway.
I know, and I know we're supposed to learn something from this. Like, this is all happening for a reason, right? I mean, everyone, that I respect says this is happening for a reason. I mean, and we have to go through this. But Jesus, if you're not standing up for these people, like actively standing up for them, who the hell's gonna? You know what I mean? We gotta get together and do this. I mean, this is like, like I said, we could have gone back to sleep, but we're not asleep. We're awake, and we have to make action to do, make things better in this realm. I don't think he's going to make the 4 years. I really don't. And, but I mean, in the meantime, we have to keep talking and voting. And, you're right. 2 years. Yeah.
There's one other thing is that one of the people that got approached by Trump, I think, to be a possible vice president, right, it was said to that person, how would you like to be the most powerful vice president in all of history? In other words, what he wanted to do was just have the title of president and then go out and do wheeling and dealing, but leave the actual work of being a president to the vice president. And, of course, they would love that if it's this Pence guy, right? Because they're they would love let's put it to you this way. The Republican Party would I'm going to just stop recording for a sec. Thanks, archive listeners, because I'm going to say something really vulgar right now. So thank you. Be back.